Okay. I have an announcement to make. I have a secret project that I have been working on for a long time. And I didn't know when I was going to announce this, honestly, because there's been a lot of things going on in my life. I got diagnosed with an autoimmune disease recently, just kind of was, kind of getting all that settled. I have a second business I'm getting ready to launch with my brother, Fairway Bays, Golf Simulator Bay here in town. It's going to be very exciting. But, also Life Builder, my coaching firm, has been doing very well. So with all that going on, it was just like, I don't know when I'm going to talk about, this. I wrote a book. So yeah, it's called What Do You Want? And choose for yourself or someone else will. I wrote that. I didn't mean to write this book. This book I kind of fell into. If I can tell you a story real quick, I'll tell you why. And actually, up here at the top, you'll see it says the Clarity series. This is book 1 of 3. There's 2 more that will be coming. And the reason for that is because I realized something. Just to tell you a quick story. Years ago, when I was working in corporate and sales and management consulting and different things like that, I was hitting all the top awards. And what I realized from talking to other people who were very successful too was that not only was I doing really well at hitting my numbers, but I was doing it in a time frame that was kind of insane to everybody else. Like I was working 40% less than all the other high performers, and they wanted to know why. And I didn't know I was doing anything different. So all of a sudden, I kind of started talking about what I was doing, how I prioritized, plan my day, my weekends, like all this stuff. And, they started learning from that, and they started to see it was kind of the beginning of my coaching career. Well, then when I finally, quit and started doing this full time, then all of a sudden what ended up happening is I realized that people are really bad at knowing what they want, because I thought I was going to quit and just start helping people get what they want. I was going to focus on the how. How do you get what you want? But then I realized that without clarity around the what, we can't really build a good plan on how to get there. And then I realized there was actually another question in between that we had to ask, and that was, why do you want it? So then I realized that those are the 3 questions I help people answer. What do you want? Why do you want it? And that answer can change the what sometime. And once we have those 2 synced together, then we can move to the how are you going to get it? So I thought about writing about all of those in one book, and I decided not to for this reason. My coaching philosophy is around helping people stack small daily wins. And the important thing about understanding what you want isn't just about a macro basis. It's not, we do focus on like, hey, 3 years out, what's your roadmap? What's signal? What are we focused on up here? But there's also an element on the daily. What's happening right now. Hey, what do you want out of this big meeting that you have later today? What's your goals for that? That would move you forward just a little bit there. And a lot of that ties into books like, Atomic Habits and, getting 1% better and different things like that. But it's true. You can make incredible progress really quickly by doing less, not more, but just by doing less better. And that's the principles of what I ultimately built this around. Now, there's a lot of different reasons why people don't know what they want. Some of the most common ones would be things like borrowed dreams. Borrowed dreams would be when, maybe you are an executive, you get a promotion, the executive above you was really good at what they did. They kind of left a game plan for you, and then you just ended up, doing what they wanted you to do and what the rest of the business expected of you instead of doing what you felt was best, right? That could be an example of a borrowed dream. Another very obvious one would be like your parents. Maybe you grew up and you went to law school, but you didn't really want to go to law school, but your parents wanted you to go to law school. Okay, that's an example of a borrowed dream. All of that is a fast path to misery. Another reason people don't know what they want. We're just distracted, and it's not just our phones. Sometimes we can do things that are actually really good things, and they're productive. This is why I call them good distractions, because we do them, we feel good, but the problem is that they're not in alignment with what we want. They're not aligned with signal. So therefore, we're doing this stuff and we're busy and we're just all over the place. So that is not a good thing. That is actually a distraction. We have to be really careful of those, because those are the most dangerous ones that can suck away our teams, our resources. And our teams is actually a concept I talk about a lot in my coaching and in the book. Your teams is your 5 most precious resources. I know I just did 10 fingers, but 5 on each one for emphasis. But your 5 most precious resources, it's your time, energy, attention, money, and soul. And How you invest those 5 daily things is the difference between being broke, a billionaire, or anything in between. And one of the things that's really important about your teams is like we measure out of all of those, most commonly, we measure the money, but we don't tend to measure how we're spending our time, our energy, and our attention. And then when I talk about soul, what I'm talking about is things that light you up, that give you passion, that you get really excited about. If you're, somebody who's spiritual, for me, I'm a Christian. So like, it's important for me that whatever my plans are in the macro and whatever I end up doing on the daily in the micro, that it's aligned to what I feel my calling is as a Christian and that my values are lined up with that. So all of those things, how you invest your teams is a very crucial element to getting what you want. But if you don't have clarity on what you want, then guess what? You won't end up spending them the way you want to. Society will end up doing it for you. And that's a huge part of the choose for yourself or someone else will. I talk a lot about that. Another reason that people don't get what they want is because they kind of innately know it. They do know what they want, but the moment they admit it and the second that they say it, they know they're going to have to change. And they don't want to because we're humans. We don't like to change. So sometimes we just rather sit in our misery and be unhappy or kind of depressed and anxious and not go after the things we want because we feel like it's easier. It's not. You get to choose your hard, right? But unfortunately, that's what we end up doing sometimes. So there's a lot of different reasons, and I go into that into the book and help you really kind of diagnose and uncover what might be preventing you from from really finding clarity on what it is you want. So that's it. So if it's okay, I'd love to just read a couple of my favorite excerpts here so you can just get a little bit of a taste and see if this is a book that you feel would be worth an investment in your time. Again, I wrote this book to be short and impactful. That's why, as you can see here, it's really thin. It's less than 100 pages. Average reader can read it in an hour and a half. If you read a little bit faster like I do, you can do it a little over an hour. I wanted this to be just like everything else I do. A fast, quick hit that's really impactful. I always think I call it crater-sized impact. It's like most craters were, meteorites, barely the size of my fist, but they can leave massive impacts, because of the speed at which they're moving. And that's ultimately what I want this book to be. And the next two are going to be just like that. That's why I didn't make it one big book. I wanted to make this something that would serve people, that would help you get clarity on this question that you could take action on immediately. So yeah, that's that. So if it's okay, I'd love to just read a couple little parts and hopefully you can see, like I said, if this is something that would really serve you, because ultimately this is not something I want people to just set on their desk and then, they kind of glance at it, they never finish it, and it doesn't have any impact. This is something that I'm really hoping help change the way you think about things and helps you build the life that you want. Progress is movement towards a clear destination that matters. The dangerous illusion of progress is motion that only looks like it's getting you there. One creates fulfillment, the other creates exhaustion. Saying I want to be successful is like typing somewhere nice into your GPS. It sounds reasonable, but you'll never arrive. That's why so many people stay unsatisfied with where they are. Definition gives desire a form that you can actually chase. It turns emotion into a target and lets you measure progress instead of just motion. But an important point that people misunderstand is that definition doesn't trap you, it frees you. What do you want is a dangerous question, not because it's complicated, but because it demands honesty. When you sit with that question long enough, you're left with just two options: make a change or admit that you're not willing to change and accept life as it is. The world tells you to keep your options open so it can keep selling you things. Society doesn't want you to commit to anything because commitment cuts off their access to your most valuable resources: your time, energy, attention, money, and soul, your teams. Open options are open loops, and open loops drain energy, focus, and time. Closing a door isn't loss, it's leverage. Now, this last one comes from a chapter called Redefining Winning, because I try to give some really tactical advice here after we kind of talk about this philosophical problem. And this one's about the two scoreboards. Every one of us has two scoreboards, the external and the internal. The external scoreboard is the one that people can see: degrees, revenues, titles, big houses, lovers, fast cars, follower accounts. It's addictive because it's visible, it's measurable, it gets applause, and it triggers a nice dopamine hit. We love those. The internal scoreboard, nobody sees but you and God. Integrity, growth, purpose, love. It's invisible, but it's the one that only matters when your head hits the pillow. The danger is this: when your external scoreboard outruns your internal one, burnout and emptiness follow close behind. We live in a world that is obsessed with looking successful instead of feeling fulfilled. We chase the appearance of victory, not the experience of peace. And the sick part, society rewards the wrong scoreboard. You get applause for being exhausted. You get promoted for being available 24/7. You get celebrated for sacrificing your sanity. The world calls that winning. Hell no. That's losing until it all falls apart at once. I'm releasing the book on March 25th, and I'm going to be doing a big launch party that day. I'm actually going to do a training on the book, What Do You Want? A lot of the principles in here I do keynote speaking on, or sometimes I do leadership training, and I will have special packages for anybody that's interested in anything like that. You can click on the link and see the landing page there for all the details. The event is free. I hope you can come. I would love to have you there, but if not, if you just want to get notified when the book is coming out so you can check it out, when it's there, it'll be available in hardcover for $15.99, and then the Kindle version will be 99 cents. It's the cheapest I could make it. So thank you guys so much for the support. So many of you have been so just encouraging throughout this process. The few of you that actually knew about this, special shout out to my wife, Lindsay. She has been nothing but an encouragement during this time and helping me kind of piece this together. It takes a lot to take the mess that is all the chaos up in my head and try to put it into something coherent and useful on a book. But we managed to do it. So thanks. And I look forward to seeing you guys at the launch and beyond.